Good morning, everyone. Texas Homer, Ian Boyd, Wednesday show, talking schematics. You guys know the drill. So, we're going to talk about the Chiefs' RPO offense, but how it mirrors to what Sark could potentially want to do. And then also, Sark made a new hire. And it's interesting because it's kind of in the vein of what me and Ian have talked about a couple of times and what we want to see from the tight end room. So, it is interesting. Elio, good morning. Roaster, good morning. Kevin, good morning. Too broke to pay attention. Good morning, fellas. All right.
Very relate, everybody. Connor was telling me that the reason my knee hurts from the treadmill is because I'm a wimp and I need to keep going. So we had to hatch that out. Now we're ready to go.
No, the key piece of information you said was new shoes. So if you have new shoes, your body's not always used to being on that plane. So that can change a little bit different. So like when I got my new Brooks, I got the same kind of knee pain. And normally you'd back off, but doing research is common for new shoes. So if it continues for like 3-ish days or it's hurting too much, back off. But it could just be that you're adjusting to new shoes.
It's kind of been going for a while, but
you have to see. Also, too, it depends on like, are you supinated and pronated when you run? Blah blah blah. Have you gone to like a jogging store or anything?
Yeah,
you should.
I got these shoes. That's where I got these new shoes.
Did they put you on the machine and everything?
Yeah, I did a little scan. One of my feet is like way bigger than the other.
Okay.
The bigger foot is the one that has the knee that hurts.
Yeah.
Feel free to diagnose me in the chat.
Walking on treadmill flat-footed like our safeties. You can also walk backwards on a treadmill. Have you seen the knees over toes guy?
No.
He's done a lot of stuff on knee pain and stuff. And if you do like 10 minutes backward walking on treadmills, that's also been beneficial for people's knees.
Interesting.
Yeah, check it out. Check out Knees Over Toes guy. He has some interesting stuff. But also, I am not a doctor. This is me watching YouTube videos.
Do you remember when Miles Turner they were like, your gait is going to lead to a short NBA career, and they like taught him how to run all over again? It was this weird. It was crazy. Some of that sports science stuff is crazy. Jordan Shipley had a deal too, where they were like, he kept blowing out his hamstrings, and the reason he had a 6th year and he was there for Colt McCoy in the first place was that he kept getting hurt earlier, and then they figured out how to strengthen these other muscles that prevented additional hamstring injuries. And then voila.
Dude, it's such a weird mix because you have like these really innovative, smart sports science guy, and then total charlatans. I'm selling you weird supplements. So you're like, you have to really sort through it. There's some brilliant guys, but also there's so much nonsense in that industry as well. All right, you want to start off with the RPO offense of the old Kansas City Chiefs?
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's do it, man.
Man, I love watching the Chiefs, especially like around the goal line. The Chiefs have like the most amazing creative RPO stuff. Like the play they beat, who'd they beat last year? The 49ers. The play they beat the 49ers on in overtime was like quarterback shovel option play. It was like Kelsey on a shovel option, and then another guy on a flat route, and then Mahomes. They do all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, and hopefully we can integrate it with some new quarterback style of play.
We already do a lot of it.
Yeah, but just do it well.
There's more to take, obviously, from the Chiefs.
All right, so let's look at your first point: inside zone, the backside stick concept. What draws your eye about this?
This is the kind of thing I think Texas already has in the arsenal.
Mm-hmm.
The difference is that if you go ahead and play it, and I want people to watch how quickly Mahomes is throwing the football here. The ball is out so fast. And I don't think he's even necessarily reading that much after the snap.
Think it's a grass read?
I think it's a grass read or like a flat defender read, flat defender leverage. And he knows pre-snap that he's basically going to throw it. Like, I don't think he's really doing a run, or I don't know if he's even doing a run or pass read, or if he's already figured out pre-snap, this is going to be a pass. And then just zip, it's out. Texas.
Oh, too, right? Like, so with this corner up here that's kind of blocked with his head by this little tab, if you force Worthy into this motion outside of this slot receiver, the corner has to widen. So it forces him out, and it forces this read to be open as long as this linebacker here doesn't expand.
That's another thing with their designs is that a lot of times the guy that Andy Reid has doing one task forces a easily predicted response.
Right. That's what I'm saying. It's like hyper efficient. It just makes sense. Like when I watch an Andy Reid play, I'm like, all the pieces of that made sense, and it's why that play worked.
Yeah.
So forcing the corner to wide out here with Worthy, who's also an incredible speed threat that they're going to be hyper paranoid with. You also see that everyone's at the line in that corner as soon as Worthy goes in motion, starts backing way off.
Now, Sark has stuff like this too. Also, okay, this pre-snap could have been Ezekiel's wheel, which is where you get like a wheel route by Worthy, a glance route by the receiver, and then Travis Kelce, who ends up lead blocking. On Ezekiel's wheel, he would go out there too and run a flat route. And we'll get more into that play in a minute. But pre-snap, you're like, you don't know that Worthy's not hitting you downfield on a wheel.
Right.
And so that's partly why that corner is like bailing. And then the run action makes it where that linebacker can't get out there on the stick.
Yeah, things look like other things.
Sark is good at this too, but it just hits different with professionals and with Reid.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. So outside zone with a slant flat backside concept. So someone up here is going to run inside for the slant, and someone over here is going to run out this way. And it's going to create a natural rub, but also a clear read. And then you have outside zone as well. Oh, I like that. So Worthy actually ends up running the flat there. Okay.
Is that Worthy? I don't think that's Worthy.
I can't tell.
That's probably Smith-Schuster, somebody bigger.
Let me see. No. What number is Worthy? Am I tripping?
He's one.
That's one. That's Worthy.
Wow, it looked taller.
He looks bigger than he looks bigger, but
yeah. Can you do it one more time?
There we go. So we saw all the line outside zone block left towards the top of your screen. And the running back can go that way. And then there's an RPO component here too. Where
I think again, Mahomes knows the route he's probably going to throw. And it's just a matter of seeing it open briefly and hitting it.
It's just the speed though, which he gets this out.
It's impossible. It's like it really is like watching Brady. Only Brady would do this with not RPOs, but true drop back concepts. But he would get it out so fast that you had no chance. It was like you're either going to block, you're either going to tackle Danny Amendola or Julian Edelman in space for a 2-yard gain, or you're going to miss, and it's like 7.
How does he identify it so quick? Because you're going to have Worthy come out here to the flat that should widen the corner, but you still theoretically have these backers that could sit in that window. It's his recognition. How did they get rid of that linebacker? Okay, so they're getting a man. He's getting a man key, and this linebacker is going to have to follow Worthy out. That means the slant will be open. And then the outside zone left is pulling all the linebackers in.
Yep. So he looked right here. He sees what he thought he would see, which is the linebackers going this way and the man safety going the other.
Yeah. And so he knows at that point the window's going to be open.
This is hard to emulate at the college level.
Yeah, of course.
Because some of this is like the chess master thing I'm always talking about, where like they say a chess master has to play 10,000 games to become a chess master, because it takes that long to train the brain to see all the patterns and to see them like instantaneously, like 10 moves down, 20 moves down, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And Mahomes has that. It's almost like the one place where the 10,000 hour rule is actually
true.
Somewhat true. Yeah. Obviously, it's still the case that to get to 10,000 hours, you had to have been pretty good at it in the first place.
Correct. Most people don't stay around for 10,000 hours if they're getting no positive.
Yeah, you have a sample. You have a selection bias there, Mel.
Right.
But
It's
yeah.
interesting. So he reads that immediately. I wonder too, on this play, did they use motion to get that man key, or is he really just identifying it that quickly?
Don Gregory, fellow Cedar Park High alum, in the chat. Shout out Timberwolves.
Where's his eyes? I guess he's just reading this apex, because if the apex stays, that means Worthy's going to be free. And yeah, where are his eyes? Yeah, he's looking here. Okay. I just wanted to see if he used motion pre-snap or whatever, how he could tell. But man, his processing is pretty damn crazy.
Yeah, I love the designs. Sark is really good at drawing up these designs to give the quarterback lightning reads. But Quinn Ewers is good in the RPO game because he's good at the off-platform quick flicks and throwing them accurately.
Yep.
But he was never able to make reads this fast and just put the ball
on the money too.
On the money. It just did not happen. There's not very many people that do it this well. Tua Tagovailoa was like probably one of the highest level RPO guys I've ever seen at the college level. And even then, it wasn't usually this quick.
Yeah, we'll talk about our future quarterbacks here. All right. See what else we got. Ezekiel's Wheel 3.0. Can I find your Ezekiel's Wheel on the internet so fans can know what we're talking about?
Yeah. Maybe type in Sark's latest addition to the RPO arsenal.
Okay.
They introduced the play in 2022 at Texas, and Quinn threw his first touchdown pass as a Longhorn on Ezekiel's Wheel.
It's giving you the Google AI overview. Ezekiel Wheel is a play on words used by Ian Boyd and Steve Sarkisian to describe an offensive play in football.
It's not what Sark calls it, as far as I know.
Correct, but it's just the AI figuring it out.
I'm pretty sure I'm the only one that calls it that.
I don't know if I can find the actual diagram. All right, we'll have to keep going because I don't know if I can find the diagram. We're not going to stop the show to find it. All right, so let's see here. Ezekiel's Wheel 3.0. Instead of a glance wheel flat, the wheel route becomes a hitch.
So, yep. So originally Ezekiel's Wheel, they would have a tight end run a wheel route out of the backfield. The outside receiver would run a post, and then a second tight end or second player would also run where the tight end had gone and run a true flat.
Yeah.
There was post wheel flat. And Texas threw the wheel route a bunch of times. Then they borrowed from the NFL, Mike McDaniel, Andy Reid, Shirley. Teams started to run it where the wheel route became more of a distraction. And instead of running a post, they'd run a glance route, which is like in between a slant and a skinny post.
Yeah.
And they would just it's just open. It's just almost always open because it's really hard to adjust to the wheel and then also and then cover the glance when you have run action pulling you the other way.
Well, especially when you're being widened by the tight end and then whoever's on the motion here.
And so they have, again, it's Travis Kelce running the wheel.
Right.
So you're like.
You know what's really smart too? Because if you have to check down here to Worthy, you get a lead blocker with Kelce up front too. Now, Kelsey's not a great blocker. We'll see later he makes a great block on a
I think Travis Kelce's an awesome blocker on that.
If he's up against a safety. And so that's the advantage. And we'll see later he makes a run block from Mahomes. But also really smart here too, that if you do have to check down to Worthy here, and now you have Travis Kelce able to lead block here on a corner. So just good design, man.
You could tell also that Buffalo, their corner was bailing anytime they saw this action. So they were. I don't know if I don't know the Chiefs well enough to know if they've been running the play this way in the regular season, but you kind of wonder based on how the Bills were playing it if the Chiefs had like anticipated and like saved this up for them. That's very effective. It's like, how come Juju Smith-Schuster is suddenly like effective again as a receiver now that he's in Kansas City? And it's like, well, look, he's running wide open.
Right. And it's such a quick.
And it's not because of his route running. He doesn't have to do anything. Just run to the spot, and Mahomes is going to put it on you.
Yeah, because technically he's fair. I mean, he gets the corner or the nickel here originally has the right leverage, but he gets inside of him, and then Mahomes just.
Oh, but the nickel's worried about the nickel has to take the flat because the corner's bailing.
But just the perfect touch on it too, man. Like right over that layer. Like, I think the answer here is you need Pat Mahomes at quarterback. If we had Pat Mahomes at quarterback, I think we'd be really dominant. But the design here is just really strong.
Quinn Ewers hit that glance a bunch of times. He never hit it. He never hit it like on the hash. If you can scroll back up, like here, he catches the ball before he hits the hash. Now the hash is more narrow, okay.
Yeah.
But I've watched Texas run this in like warm-ups and games, and Quinn would usually hit him much later across the field.
Once he could truly verify it was open.
Yeah, and Arch actually was quicker in the warm-ups when I'd watched them do this.
Arch has a way faster trigger there. Even at Isidore Newman, he's faster. Arch is faster on the trigger inside and more willing to throw things into quote-unquote muddy coverage. Quinn did not like that at all. Quinn did not like – if there were people near people, Quinn would shy away generally. It's what helped him last year, not this season, but the year before, and not being so turnover prone. But Arch believes in himself more in those tight windows.
Remember against ULM, it felt like there was a bunch of people after that game. I'm going to go ahead and say it, especially at the Statesman. They were like, see, that's why Quinn's the starter. Arch isn't as good. I swear, for almost the entire ULM game, they made Arch do the things he was weakest at. And then, like, later in the third quarter, Sark was like, okay, we need to put this away. I'm sick of this. And then he dialed up some RPOs, and they just flew down the field. They just flew with Arch hitting, like, all these glances, and then they scored, and then it was like, okay, we're good now.
Yeah, if you can attack inside here and with Arch's deep, if Arch has that quick trigger that like is immediate, that scares defenses and makes them bite. That also opens up stuff downfield and double moves. So if you can get both those things going, where safeties are like up, and then you can get someone over the top, there's some potential here. What do we got here? Man, that safety's playing center field. The safety's in Buffalo.
Even though the Chiefs now will like dink and dunk teams still respect Mahomes throwing bombs.
Yeah.
So there, look at that. I don't even know what he saw to cue him on the I guess he sees that it's man this time instead of that bailing zone that they were doing before.
Well, he sees that there's a safety or a nickel on Travis Kelce, and he's going to throw it.
They keep the corner and man on glance.
Yeah.
So it's like that glance is now a really low percentage throw.
Yeah. But Travis Kelce's going to win his matchup.
It's crazy that they go to that instead of the flat to Worthy.
Yeah, but once again, you end up with.
They don't even want to take the time to get to he just gets the ball out immediately.
Yeah, he's so confident in where it's going. He also knows his matchup so well. He's like, I'm throwing that to Travis Kelce, and I'm throwing it backside to where only he can get it. The ball placement, the reaction time, it's all incredible stuff. And I don't even like the Chiefs, but I do like good offensive football.
I love watching the Chiefs is so rewarding.
It is, dude. It is a fun team to watch. Like
if you root for them, it's like every game is going to be close and fun to watch. But then
they're going to win though.
And they're going to win. Yeah. And then you can go online and watch everybody cry about it and find like.
I don't have I'm a Cowboys fan just because regionally I'm from DFW, man. But I have like no true NFL fanship. So when I watch the NFL, it's purely for schematics. So as long as the football's good, I kind of win, and that's why it's fun watching the Chiefs. All right, what do we got next?
Can we pull up really quick this John A. question?
The conspiracy theory?
Yeah.
Of course. Ian Boyd's conspiracy corner. Here we go.
Yeah.
Conspiracy theory time. Vegas's influence in sports markets has caused more desire for fixed outcomes because the money has gotten so big that that influences certain matchups and outcomes. What do y'all think? Ian's gonna tell you.
I think that the algorithms that they use now on all these sports gambling sites are so advanced that it's really hard. They're just making hand over fist because the science behind the house is so good. Now, does that mean that if they could influence games that they wouldn't? I don't know. I'm never gonna say that people wouldn't do something evil, but they really don't need to. And with their partnerships with the leagues, I don't know. I think that's I don't think that the case is that good. Does this make sense?
Yeah, I'm actually surprised you didn't take the conspiracy angle of that. So, all right, cool. I thought you would be like, absolutely.
Conspiracy is right in front of you, which is that they're making it very difficult for you to actually win money.
That is true. The real conspiracy is, the game is rigged for you to win in sports, but that's
like they got
level.
They got Barstool president out there whining about calls in every game, and then alternated with him slamming his photos of his tickets down on Twitter. Right?
Yeah.
I don't even know if he actually believes in all this. He feeds the machine, and they're happy to take his money and the money of all of his followers.
You guys know who will do right with your money? David McClellan.
I'm just going to say, guys, you probably need a fiduciary financial advisor. And I've got the guy for you. His name is David McClellan with Forum Financial. He works broadly and deeply with his clients as a financial life coach. And he should know something about coaching because he won several national championships as a swimmer for the University of Texas. He specializes in financial planning and has contributed numerous articles to Kiplinger on the topic of retirement tax bombs. So contact David today to be your fiduciary financial planner and schedule a 1-hour consultation to assess your financial situations. The free consultation is available, so just give him a call. The number is 312-933-8823. That's 312-933-8823. His email is also in the description below.
Good stuff. All right, AR. What NFL play caller do you see a lot of similarities from what Sark calls?
Andy Reid. That's what I'm telling you right now. It looks a little different because Mahomes is so quick triggered. But every RPO we've shown you so far, Texas has run.
What do you think about the outside zone Shanahan 49ers offense?
Mike McDaniel is very RPO heavy, and he runs Ezekiel's wheel. Mike McDaniel is also very similar to Sark. But I would say maybe Andy Reid a little more so, because I think Andy Reid is a little less married to the outside zone system. And Sark, I think, is also less married to the outside zone system. Not Sean McVay. AR is asking about Sean McVay. I mean, I think Sark takes from everybody and anybody.
I mean, that is the group of the leading coordinators. So, he'll
borrow from all those guys. But like McVay and I want to say McDaniel both have like a first things first, we're going to run wide zone on half our play calls or whatever, 30% of our play calls or whatever. And both Sark and Andy Reid are less like that, I think.
More adaptive.
Texas was a wide zone team last year because that was the personnel. They don't really recruit to that system in particular.
They'd prefer to be an inside zone team if they could.
I also prefer that on their behalf with this playbook.
Right.
If they were going to have them, if Texas got like a McVay disciple and we're more wide zone based, I think that could be very, very, very effective at Texas. But if that's not what you're doing, then that's fine.
So this is interesting, right? Now Ian's going to talk about Mahomes as a runner, right? Not an elite runner, but an effective runner.
You know, if he were in college and they wanted to, he could probably run for a lot of yards.
Well, here's the thing. We have a runner in Arch. He can do that. And then you'll talk
Yes.
later about another quarterback. So my point is like, you're not Lamar Jackson here, right? You're not Jalen Milroe. But you can make it happen here. And so we'll see a zone read with an outside bubble screen to hold defenders in the box. So down here, can you not see my cursor? Here we go. Down here is going to be the bubble screen. That's going to keep these defenders out here and not able to run and get into the fits.
Which they know. So I don't know if they even read the bubble screen, maybe pre-snap. If they're like, hey, they're not putting anybody out there, throw the bubble screen. But after the snap, I don't know if Mahomes even looks over there. I don't think he does.
He doesn't appear to do that. He seems like he knows exactly what he's doing on all of these throws. And then they're going to zone read it here. Running back's going to go up towards the field, and then Mahomes can pull it and come around this way. So let's watch. So he's holding these three guys out here. They all still have pretty good eyes, though. They're keyed in here. And he gives it.
So that he has to read the defensive end. And so this is where you can tell how good he is at reading a defender's leverage in a snap moment.
So you'll see this end.
Unblocked.
Yep, unblocked. So they're reading this end here. And the end does not chase after the back. So it's going to be a give. He does, but he's not. It doesn't matter. He's not close enough to get him.
Yeah. He doesn't crash hard enough.
Yeah. But man, he's still a damn athlete. Those NFL guys. You know what's funny, dude? I watch so much college that when I watch NFL games, sometimes I'll be like, man, that's an NFL player. Why? Because I'm just like, man, that guy's gonna go pro one day. And then I realize, yeah, no, duh. He's
where you really see it?
Watching the NFL.
You know where you really see it in the NFL is when like they'll hit like a receiver and you'll be like, oh, he's dead to rights. And then he makes a guy miss. And you're like, oh, this is going for 50. And then like 5 yards later, somebody's bringing it down.
Yeah, it's such a different thing. I'm so used to college. I'll be like, yeah, here it goes. Oop. All right.
So on the same drive.
The one below.
Yeah. Like a few plays later, it's like, okay, so the end is he gave Mahomes a look, but he ultimately crashed. Now we're gonna run GT counter read, so the backside end is unblocked again. But this time we're gonna have two arc lead blockers for the backside quarterback keeper.
Yeah. So the guys in the backfield right now, you're gonna see are gonna come out here and flare out.
And the Bills were complaining after the game. They're like, that was not on film.
But it's such an answer, right? It's like, if we know this end is going to crash, then here's the answer for that. You know, like with lead blockers up against DB and LB types. So like even getting your blockers on the right bodies where you always have the advantage. So is this the one where Kelsey makes a hell of a block?
Yeah. So Kelsey sees this first guy. Yep.
Yeah.
And he's like, he's not going to make the play. And then he changes direction and goes upfield for the safety.
Yeah.
And
boom. Can we do this with Arch?
100%.
Yeah.
This is exactly what Arch is good at. Is he can fall forward. He can win the edge. He's just quick enough to make these zone keeper plays work pretty good. And then when he gets into open field, he's just legitimately dangerous. This one was pretty easy. So
yeah,
not everybody scores on this, but a lot of guys do.
But I like this in the red zone, man.
Yes.
A lot. If we can. And also too, right? Like, so our tight ends, we'll talk about our tight ends in a little bit, actually, with the new hire. But our tight ends aren't great blockers in the box. But if you can get our tight ends out here on safeties and stuff like that, I like these advantages too. So, man, Reed's offense, man, it just makes sense. Like, whenever you're like, okay, this adds up, this adds up, this adds up. And a lot of times when you're watching offenses, it doesn't come together that cleanly. And you also can't always you can follow the lines of logic. His offenses just make sense.
He's like the Belichick of offense.
Yeah.
Because Belichick would always be so great at finding a role for every defensive player. And then everything they would do would be like, oh, that makes sense. They just took away what we want to do, and everybody's in a role that makes sense for them. And then,
it's just the ability to maximize your assets. So, of course, we think Arch can do all of this, right? We think he can do the RPOs. We think he can do the quick reads. We think he has the confidence to throw in short windows over the middle. And we think he has the ability to run. And we think this all fits within the Sarkisian universe of play calls. So all those pieces are there. But Ian also thinks that the next wave of quarterback, 2 quarterbacks from now, third in line, KJ Lacey, also has this skill set really strongly, and would be able to maximize this style of kind of RPO offense.
I've been thinking about this ever since Eric, our boss, wrote up he's been writing up audits of each position room on the Texas roster over at Inside Texas. And he did one on the quarterbacks, and he mentioned like they're going to run Arch some, but they really have plans for using KJ Lacey and his athleticism. And I was like, really? That's interesting. Because he's not a big guy, KJ Lacey. That's like the knock, is that he's small.
Yeah.
And I thought about it, and then I was watching Patrick Mahomes and all the stuff he was doing with like the real quick RPO reads, and I was like, that's actually a pretty good match for what Lacey does.
And you think he's kind of a good mix between like a Tua and a Bryce? If you think of like the Sarkisian background, I think like those 2 players he's a good like blend of those 2 players. So this is going to be a quick read.
Yeah, not an RPO, although it might as well have been with how quickly he gets down.
He's just using this to display a quick read and executing quickly.
So 0 blitz, and that's all right. I'm just going to hit Ryan Williams.
And, of course, he has Ryan Williams, right? So there's always a lot of confidence in just throwing it up there. But the point is this. He identifies that they're not going to have the blockers, and he plants his foot, and he throws a catchable ball. While with a little bit of fadeaway to it too. So off platform.
Off platform, I think, is maybe the key. Just the quick read and easily sets and fires that.
And protects himself.
If you watch on all those Mahomes throws above, there's like 2 obvious keys. One is that he knows what he's doing like immediately. Mm-hmm. And second, he doesn't need any time to get the ball out.
And he's throwing accurately when he does it.
Lacey has some of that. Yeah, I mean, he has both of those things on this one for sure.
Yeah.
And then there's this one where he's going to run it in near the goal line, so 9 yards out.
Let me get the volume down on this.
This one, I think, is like
quick read. He's looking for an RPO window too, by the way, by where he's looking, or a quick slant. It's not there. Quick decision, and he's able to run through the traffic effectively.
It might have been a draw RPO. I can't remember.
Boom. Maybe it is. But he's looking for real. He's not cheating it.
Yeah. Well,
but that 71's blocking my view of what he's doing.
I saw another one that actually had the full view of it. But I didn't stop to think about what play he was running.
Yeah, I think KJ's interesting in this style of offense.
His darting quickness is so good.
Yeah.
It's like
and the under stress processing, right? Like when you're in such a constricted area and there's so many players around you, he's able to really see what's going on. He has the athleticism to make the move, but he's processing quick. Like, I got to get rid of this guy. I got to get rid of this guy.
Once again, the 10,000 chess matches thing. He started at least 3 and maybe 4 years in Alabama at the highest level. It really makes a difference in teaching your brain how to process this stuff quickly.
No. And he won Mr. Alabama or whatever the other day too.
Yeah, he did a lot better without Ryan Williams than you might have been afraid that he would.
Yeah, that was the whole question, right? Is he a good quarterback or does he have Ryan Williams? And the answer is he's a good quarterback. And then if you have a good quarterback that has Ryan Williams, then yikes.
Let me throw this at you. I'm developing this idea that like in high school, you want like an elite athlete and your best football player at quarterback. I think that's kind of accepted. In college, you want like a game manager, distributor, senior point guard kind of guy.
Yeah.
And in the NFL, you want an elite player again.
I mean, yeah.
Like
I
in
think
the
the
in
NFL.
the NFL, the teams that win the championships have the elite quarterbacks. In high school, an elite quarterback takes you a long way. In college, it just does not correlate to winning like you would
Is it
think.
because there's such a short window? Like you have to learn so much more offense compared to high school in a shorter amount of time, 3 to 4 years if you're a pro, that you almost are just looking for a stabilizing force, something that's tying everything together over the course of 3 years. Whereas the NFL, you can look more to playmakers because they can have 15-year careers.
I think it's what Ryan Nelson just said about the roster. In the NFL, you have parity with the salary cap. In high school, you have relative parity because theoretically everybody's having to draw from their community. And in college football, it's actually possible to derive a marginal advantage at every position on the field if you just stockpile your team with talent. So, and if you're going with like a total roster approach to winning, then you just need the quarterback that best unlocks that.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't think you're wrong, but I kind of think it's more the structure of the
Just the sport itself selects for that.
Yeah.
I'm down with that.
Although we have seen, Cam Newton, Vince Young, arguably Colt McCoy, they all played on good teams, but they elevated their team a lot with their freakishness.
Feels like Arch is going to have to do that this year, though.
A little bit. Just a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah, feels like there's going to be some hero ball.
I'm all for it. I feel like all the best Texas teams I've seen.
You love it. You love hero ball quarterbacks, and so do I. If they're good, it's a blast to watch.
I like it for Texas in particular. I just feel like that's how Texas football is
made its hay.
It's true. It's just true to the game.
Yeah. All right. Next, guys, we made an awesome hire, and awesome not because it's the number one coach in the nation, but awesome because it has to do with the tight end room, and there's potential to implement some things that me and Ian have been talking about that we think have been missing and have limited us the past couple of years. But before we do that, guys, let's hear from Luxe Kitchen and Bath.
This video is brought to you by Luxe Kitchen and Bath. Luxe has been offering high-end kitchen and bathroom remodels for 3 generations throughout the greater Austin area. With 5-star review after 5-star review on Google and Facebook, and an A+ rating from the Better Business Bureau, you can put your faith in Luxe Kitchen and Bath's award-winning designers and skilled craftspeople to bring to life that dream vision of your special home. But that's not all. Luxe's all-star team provides full remodels, large additions, and even commercial build-outs as well. So call Luxe Kitchen and Bath at 833-358-LUXE today. Or visit luxekitchenbath.com to discover where quality meets luxury and begin the process of transforming your home. Get a free quote today by calling 833-358-LUXE. That's L-U-X-E. Or by visiting luxekitchenbath.com. Link in the description.
Thank you, LC. All right. So Texas makes the hire. Former Oklahoma State Cowboys backs coach, which is their word for like this hybridized tight end, fullback, receiving tight end, Jason McAdoo. What do you think, Ian? So here, to give you guys preface, I know most of you guys watch the show, but if you don't, one of my points has been that under Sarkisian, all of our receivers have been receivers for, or all of our tight ends have been receivers first, and they've been really effective receivers, which is great, but they're all pretty middling in the box blockers. They can block safeties, they can block corners, that kind of stuff. But when it comes to trying to stop an edge or something like that, we've had some struggles there. So I was arguing that I would like a true fullback style guy that's not like super tall and lanky, shorter, more stout, true kind of full back style blocker. and then he could leak out and make plays. That's what I've argued for. I think Ian agreed with that as well. And then we made this hire, and that's why this hire is interesting, because at Oklahoma State, he coached the cowboy back position. And what we'll see, too, is he was able to identify talent and develop talent from non-traditional ways. And there was some versatility. He can make guys into blockers. He made some of them into receivers. But basically, he was able to kind of maximize what he had. So, Ian, what are you thinking? I know I kind of summarized the article there, but let's chat about it.
You know, it's funny. I actually didn't mention in the article Jelani McDonald. He was an NFL tight end.
Not Jelani McDonald. That's our guy.
You're right.
What
was that guy's name?
I think it was
Oklahoma State, Jelani Woods.
I think it was Woods, wasn't it? They'll correct us if we're wrong.
It is Jelani Woods. Okay,
Yeah.
Sorry. Jelani Woods was a converted quarterback that he taught to block at a solid level. And then he was a solid athlete because he was like a converted quarterback athlete. He ended up transferring his final year to Virginia, and I think he played in the NFL. Let's see here. He ended up being a third-round pick. So I think he's still with the Colts. I'm not totally sure. And Blake Jarwin was a walk-on that he developed into an NFL tight end for the Cowboys. I think probably a lot of our people remember Blake Jarwin to some extent. Those guys were great. But what was almost more exciting was the pipeline of walk-ons to starting fullbacks they had.
Right.
And they're so good at this. They're like people nowadays, whenever you hear, like, if you listen to like spread coaches talk, like clinics and stuff, people will be like, we don't need this guy on the field. He's not an athlete. He doesn't catch the ball. He's not a threat. Take him off the field.
Yeah.
Oklahoma State has totally eschewed that wisdom for the last decade plus. They've had stout, pure blocking guys that would catch like 5 to 10 balls a year, never run it. And I think the results speak for themselves.
But also backbreaker catches, right? Like by them not catching it that often, that's where they catch you, with the leak there that wins the game. That's
maybe. I mean, I don't even remember that ever happening.
In the goal line, they would do some cool stuff. Like probably 2 or 3 years ago when I was breaking them down.
Really?
Yeah, with the cowboy backs.
I would mostly just remember their cowboy backs blocking on split zone a million times.
Yeah, and we'll talk about red zone, but that's what's going to be crucial. I'm glad you brought that up. But yeah, they would do some cool stuff, some leak stuff. So this is the big thing. They don't struggle in the red zone very often.
No.
Gundy's teams execute. Let's not look at this last year, guys. We're talking broadly. They execute well in the red zone and they get things done. And also with a lot of like pure execution, kind of just good coaching style of football. What do you think this means for the red zone potentially? Because Texas has been awful there.
Yeah. Well, so this guy was an offensive line coach before he came to Oklahoma State. Jared Casey, sure. Or Andrew Beck. Offensive line coach before he came to Oklahoma State. Specialized in this for the last 10 years. Former offensive lineman himself. We don't know exactly what he's going to do. We'll have more. Maybe even now Eric has more because it's not that hard to get a hold of McIndoe or people that know him to know what's going on with him.
Yeah.
But me and Connor are just immediately like, oh my gosh, if they could find some dude on the roster that none of you guys have heard of and turn like a walk on and just turn him into a bludgeon to play fullback.
Yeah.
That would be that's just like.
That would answer a lot of these issues for us.
That would answer so many issues for Texas. It would be like such an enormous force multiplier for something so modest.
Yeah. And the motivation's there, right? Some walk-on is willing to just like run his helmet into a wall all day if you can, get personnel are like formational reps on the Texas Longhorns. So there's got to be a kid that's like, I'll do it, you know?
Yep.
And he's
There's
been able to do this with like what we've seen here, like offensive linemen, defensive linemen, tight end body types. He's done a lot of this. He's tight end defensive line in high school. He's been able to make this work with a lot of guys. He's been able to evaluate talent well, and then most importantly, coach them to be effective at this position. That's important too.
Yeah. I think it's worth noting that that's kind of where you need to find your fullback or your blocking tight end, because these high schools don't teach these tight ends to block anymore. There's some,
especially in Texas. Everyone's running a spread.
You block well enough so that we can throw you the ball.
Correct. You block well enough so we can leak you out on a split zone fake.
Yes.
You know,
Lake Travis puts like for years they've put like legit skill talents at tight end that are like 6'1", 208 or something, and they're like block just well enough in the zone game, and then they move them around and they'll get like 50 targets in the passing game, 70 targets in the passing game, and they're using them that way. That Texas does that too with Gunnar Helm and Jatavian Sanders, and it works until you get to the red zone, and then it doesn't work anymore.
Right.
So pretty valuable. But I think to find that bludgeon, he probably didn't play a position like that in high school. He played defensive line. He played defensive end. This is probably the best way to get good blocking tight ends is find the defensive ends that are athletic and strong but don't translate as pass rushers, and then convert them.
And they're like, I don't want to play tight end. But they're like, I don't want to play tight end. And you're like, I'll let you catch a touchdown. And then they're like, all right.
It's like, well, do you want to play?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. That's the tricky part too. All right. So here's the years of him coaching the position and what's kind of happened. So what insights do you have from this, Ian?
Every one of those guys except Braden Cassidy was a walk-on. I think they gave Cassidy a scholarship. Pretty sure. He's from Westlake also. There's got to be like some Westlake dude on the school that will, like Michael Tapp. If Michael Tapp were big enough, he would do this.
Oh yeah, mental eval wise, yeah.
Yeah, there's got to be some dude from Westlake or somewhere.
Yeah, find the psycho.
Yeah. And I loved also doing this. Like their history of running backs is so good, but I also noticed that they had like 3 different backs that clearly were overused.
Yeah, because
you had their numbers just plummeted.
Yeah, you had Chuba go from 6.4 to 4.7. You had Ollie go from 5.1, which is not that crazy for Ollie. Oh no, 6.1. It just looks different on the computer. That makes sense. 6.1 to 4.6. So yeah, they run their guys into the ground here pretty often.
But they've always got those fullbacks, and those fullbacks would play in every game, and they'd be in the formation like, I don't know, more than half of their offensive snaps, probably. Yeah. Just like the staple of like, we're going to have this dude that is good at one thing, and that's blocking for the running back.
Yeah. Why else would you make this hire? What institutional knowledge does he provide? Who needs a secondary tight end coach? You know, so it's just like, why if not for this reason, why would you make this hire? Unless he worked with Gundy for a while, so of course he's going to have wider knowledge, right?
Yeah.
So I'm not saying that he like doesn't know Gundy's offense and that'll help, but it's like, it seems this is not some like, whoa, famous name, you know? So it's like, why make this hire if your goal is not to be able to mix it up in the run game more?
Yeah, he's either supporting Flood with O-line development, or he's supporting Banks.
Yeah.
And because Banks already is like the lead recruiter on the staff and special teams guy, which needed some attention this last year.
Yeah, good point.
I think Banks has done a pretty good job of converting athletic tight ends into passable blockers.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I just don't think you're going to turn a Gunnar Helm or a JT Sanders into
Elite blockers, yeah.
an elite blocker. But just having a guy whose sole focus is either getting those guys to the level that Banks has got them to, or finding somebody on the roster that can be like a plus blocker, that seems worth it. And then, I mean, we have more to say on the red zone too, I think, and how much that could help in the red zone.
Yeah, let's get into it. We can't run block in the red zone. We can't move guys. And we haven't had the tight ends that can do that. So, right, like our tight ends have had to do a ton of split zone stuff, meaning whenever you see the tight end run behind the offensive line, get a running head start to their block, that kind of stuff. In the red zone, you're not going to do that as much. It's more of like, this is my guy in front of me, and I have to physically push him forward, and we're not as good at that.
I would counter by noting that Oklahoma State
runs a lot of split zone on the goal line.
Seems to run exclusively split zone on the goal line.
Yeah.
But they don't run so Texas would run outside zone, split zone this year all the time. And so when the tight end works back across the formation, the line is moving fast in the other direction. So all Gunnar Helm or Sanders had to do was find their guy and connect with them and not get destroyed.
Yeah. At least just get in front of them, really.
Just get in front of them. And then the play is probably going to work unless it's, the goal line. In split zone, the line is moving straight ahead. And your tight end or fullback has to get back, and he needs to, at the very least, not lose any ground. And ideally, push that guy and open up a cutback lane. And they would have Spencer Sanders a lot of years. So they could also just release the end and give people something to think about with Sanders keeping the ball. But they would just run a ton of what looked like split zone duo. It's just straight ahead double teams, fullback pop that backside guy, and they would spread teams out. So they would do it from their base spread personnel, or they would motion the slot across like Texas does all the time. If you go watch the 2022 game where Texas lost in Stillwater, and you watch all of Oklahoma State's touchdowns and short yardage plays, they would run that slot motion split zone play over and over and over again and get Texas's nickel defender into the box and get the linebacker out of the box and then just go downhill and run them over. And it was extremely hard. Texas could not figure it out.
Also, too, if you have that split zone Cowboy back as a good blocker, then you can get some quarterback pulls that would be interesting too.
Yeah.
You can get a lead blocker, so the arch could pull it with a actual lead blocker that's blocking. Yeah. So, this hire was super interesting. When Eric sent us this last night, I was like, ooh, okay, all right. This is what I'm talking about. Are there any other aspects you think we're missing to this hire and why it has a lot more value than I think people realize initially?
Well, I think this year you kept seeing the staff reach for different short yardage formations. They ran arch stuff. They tried to run power with Juan Davis as their bully fullback. He was actually kind of decent at it. He's gone now anyways. They tried T formation stuff with 3 running backs and misdirection. They tried other weird formations where they'd line up Jarrett Gibson as a fullback and then try to give it to him on a dive. They tried jumbo formations with extra offensive linemen, and none of it really
worked.
None of it really worked. A lot of it would work the first time.
Right.
And then once it was on film, it was that's useless now. I think just having a dude that you put him in the game and it's we're going to run a million different, he's going to play fullback and he's going to be good at blocking his guy and moving him off the ball in 4 different concepts, I think would be invaluable. I think if McIndoe could just do that, just find somebody on the roster and turn them into a reliable short yardage fullback.
That would be exactly. He would get it. He'd be worth his money right there.
He'd be worth his money right there. And you could probably do it on. You could also probably do that for like when Sark wants to go 12 at the end of a game. Like instead of playing Jordan Washington and Spencer Shannon, if neither of them end up being great blockers, then develop a fullback and play 21 personnel in fourth quarter when you want to just run the clock and run the ball. Or maybe McIndoe can convert Spencer Shannon into the road grader that we need. Like no matter what the solution is, having one guy whose job is find a guy or two on the roster who can be a reliable bludgeon. That's worth his weight in gold.
Would Michael Terry grow into that role?
No.
He's an athlete that prefers to be a receiver, not a blocking guy.
Michael Terry is not about that life.
Yeah.
I like him as a prospect, but he is not an A-gap menace. I'll tell you that.
Yeah. A fullback leak is a gimmick. I think Papa Dots here is arguing that fullbacks are gimmicks, which is a hell of a position to take.
Play action is not a
technically play action's a gimmick. Anything that has any disguise, right, is therefore a gimmick. Strange position there, Papa Dot. And if knowing the history of football, would not agree with you there. I guess.
Remember when the Patriots would bring in Mike Vrabel as a short yardage fullback tight end, and he caught I guess maybe you're a little young for this. Mike Vrabel caught 5 Super Bowl touchdown passes or something crazy on gimmick leak plays for Patriots dynastic Super Bowl runs. I'll take that.
Yeah.
Also, how about Oklahoma Baker Mayfield? Baker Mayfield took down Ohio State throwing fullback leak passes to Dimitri Flowers for he went 9 catches for 150 yards in Columbus. And Baker planted the flag in the field in Columbus off the back of throwing fullback leak throws to Dimitri Flowers.
Taking one line and running with it is crazy. Well, Papa Dot, you've been talking a lot in the chat, dude. I can't read everything. We're trying to do the show, but I agree here, man. There's some, as far as being frustrated with the gimmick thing, I don't think your argument's super strong, but I think your sentiment is. It does feel like Sark's been trying everything to outsmart the opposing coordinator, opposed to running through their chest. Yeah, so I agree with you in this sentiment there of it has been frustrating. Ian talked about how many different goal line formations we had to try to just the ball to go forward, So I agree with you kind of there.
The toss play, which is not, that was not even a gimmick. They just didn't execute it well. Right. But gimmick is what Sark was doing. It was throwing every formation he could to try to create, getting a fullback that can just go smash somebody. That's what we're talking about.
Yeah.
But if you get the fullback that can go smash somebody, then you open up the possibility for the super easy leak where he pretends to smash them and then sneaks. Right. Tavondre Sweat also in the Big 12 championship game. That worked that well because normally Sweat was just pile driving people.
Yeah. But I do agree. It has been frustrating that, line up and win. I agree with you there. But I think the fullback position is not a gimmick position. I think, that's the core of football, is that you want to line up and go hit somebody.
Surely he doesn't disagree with that. That'd be getting a full-time fullback is the ultimate just go play football move, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's why I was confused by it, because it's that's the core of football, where it's hey, I'm going to run at you. We're going to get the numbers advantage and do our thing. So I agree there.
Tush push,
Didn't we try the tush push? I can't remember if it was last year or not, and it just didn't work.
Okay, Papa Dot's on board. I think they did not do it much with Quinn. Quinn is not strong enough to tush push.
Right.
Jalen Hurts squats like 600 pounds or something. They have QB sneaked Arch a couple times, and then they've run fake QB sneaks for Arch a couple times. I am in favor. People think that it puts your quarterback at risk of being hurt, and Patrick Mahomes got hurt doing it once. But doesn't seem that dangerous to me. As long as if your quarterback goes like crown down, I think it's kind of hard to get knocked out if you're crown down, you know?
Well, also that evidence is so weak. Like this play is dangerous because a player has been hurt on it. It's like, okay, every play in football is now dangerous and you shouldn't run it. It's like, I don't really see what, so it's like, that's just a really strange way to evaluate if a play is like dangerous or not. I guess if like nine quarterbacks happens, but just like one, who cares? Trey Owens, 6'5", 220. Yeah, we got bigger quarterbacks now, right? So we have these kind of options, which is important.
Arch and Trey are good QB sneak guys or tush push guys. KJ Lacey, no, but then maybe you just go back to the gun and run the option. So
yeah, I don't think you have to necessarily try to tush push with Lacey because I think he can, like we saw in that one play in the red zone, he was able to kind of cut through the traffic there. Now you might do that at like the 6-yard line to do that.
Did it drive you nuts when people would complain that Herman would put Ellinger in the shotgun and run goal line plays on the gun from the gun?
Yeah,
it drove me nuts. I was like, "There's nothing wrong with being in the gun on the goal line. That's not a problem."
Yeah, it's not. It's people are just funny with what they kind of clear up. Putting a fullback out there just to leak them out is a gimmick. I'm saying guys have to be dudes and go make a play. You know what's coming, then there's nothing you can do about it, dudes being dudes.
Texas definitely needs more of that.
And it's also, but it's like too, it's like putting a fullback out there just to leak them out. Like you're not putting them there just to leak them out. Like they're there to actually block. And on like 1 out of 8 times blocking, they leak out,
Putting a fullback out there just to leak is exactly the kind of nonsense that Sark was doing last year.
Exactly. To like try to cheat the game. Exactly. They have to be, that guy has to have been blocking that route, that motion route 4 times already on that drive. And then you do the leak. That's where it's interesting. But as far as like your thesis of like, look, just line up and push guys off the ball, it'd be really weird for me to argue against that. No, I need to see more creativity. We've seen all the creativity in the world in the red zone. It does not matter. So it seems like the only way through this problem is to go through the problem. But as me and Ian have pointed out, I hope you guys kind of understand this hire being interesting. And so hopefully we get what we want here.
Have you watched any AR's right. Have you watched any Henry Canoe yet?
I have not.
Me either.
I have not. I can't remember if he worked out with Traore at Mississippi State because he's also German. And I know those Germans kind of roll together in their camps and stuff. So I don't know if I saw a piece on him when I was doing research on Traore, the Mississippi State tight end. So maybe that's where I know him from. But I'm about to actually deep dive on him, and we'll know what's up. So now we have 3 defensive tackles.
Yeah.
Hero being the lightest of them, but the other 2 are like 330s plus.
Yeah.
Hero has some weight to him, more of athleticism. 3 techie, more than nose.
Well, not in Texas defense.
Well, I know how we played is weird, but when I'm talking traditional, right, like mover, anchor versus penetrator type, I guess. So it'll be interesting. But to get 3 defensive tackles matters, right? That's important, and I think we'll probably get one more, right?
I don't know. Maybe they wait. It might depend on how spring goes with. I would guess Justice Terry, Alex January, and maybe Sharma.
Sharma's a big boy.
January, I would guess, would be like, because you want a 2 deep. You want like 2 lines that you can build of complementary parts.
Right.
Then you want a third one for like
Development,
brake class in case of emergency, whatever.
Yeah, you want 2 pairs of 2.
Two pairs of 2.
Yeah, they can
Complementary.
they can play easily, and then your third line guys are going to be your young guys. You want to get reps, maybe in not super huge situations in the game or at inconsequential spots in the game.
I've only watched Brevard. I've watched him. He's like, he reminds me of Coburn or Bill Norton.
Okay.
I've not watched Travis Shaw or Henry Canoe yet. I've probably seen Canoe incidentally because I've watched Ohio State. But I've been calling him Henry.
Yeah, Hero.
Yeah, Hero.
He has such a cool, unique name, and you're going with Henry.
This is the dorkiest thing I'll ever admit on the internet, I hope. Every time I see his name, I think Hero Canoe and Tyler too.
I don't get that reference. What am
From
I?
Tippecanoe and Tyler too, the old song of the president that won the Battle of Tippecanoe and then ran based off that.
No, that's about as deep of a cut as you can get.
Well, I think they sing it in that Parks and Rec episode where they find William Harrison. They find like his old cabin, and they're trying to use it to make. I
actually love Parks and Rec, so
they do it and try to use it to make a historical landmark to compete with Grizzle for this like space that Leslie Knope wants to use as a park. Fine, change the subject just to get me off of this.
We have War Daddy DT potential in the underclassmen ranks. They just need a year or 2 to develop. January Sharma, Charles, and Terry is a national title rotation at DT.
Yeah, just win, right?
That's what he's saying. We're kind of getting these guys in here to have maturity, let them build up. Because these young guys are going to flash, but consistency is never kind of the young man's game on D. And especially with our development cycle, you have to be here a good 4 years. Then you're going a good spot in the NFL. But for whatever reason, early consistency is kind of rare at the position. But we do have a different coach, right? It's not the logo that does this; it's the coaching.
I believe that Canoe is like a junior or a senior.
I know he has 2 years.
And Shaw is a true junior. I think both those guys might have 2 years left, unless they are awesome this year. And if they are, then
great for us too.
That's better. Anyway, so they probably do have a bridge for this future that Ryan Nelson is putting out there.
All right, guys. Fun episode, heavy on the scheme today. I enjoyed it. We don't get a lot of that in the off season, so that was nice. Fans, thanks for watching. Ian, thanks for coming on. Tell your cat I said hello as well. I can hear her perfectly. All right, guys, have a great day. Peace.